Welcome back to another night of chilling stories. Tonight, we're diving deep into the wilderness, where civilization ends and something else begins. These are true accounts from park rangers, contractors, and outdoor workers who encountered things that defy explanation. Things that lurk in the shadows of our deepest forests. Story 3, The Photographer's Folly. My name is David Chen, and I used to be a wildlife photographer. Used to be, because after what happened in the Sierra Nevada mountains, I can't bring myself to venture into the wilderness anymore. I was 31 when I got the assignment from National Geographic, a dream commission for any nature photographer. They wanted a comprehensive photo essay on wildlife in remote areas of the Sierra Nevada, with a focus on species behavior away from human contact. The pay was excellent, and the creative freedom was unprecedented. I would have 3 months to explore the backcountry, documenting whatever I found. It was the opportunity of a lifetime. I should have known it was too good to be true. My base camp was established in a meadow near a pristine alpine lake, miles from the nearest trail. A local guide named Maria helped me pack in my supplies, camera equipment, camping gear, enough food for several weeks at a time. "You sure about staying out here alone?" Maria asked as she prepared to head back. "This area has a reputation." I laughed. "I've worked in grizzly country, been charged by elephants in Africa. I think I can handle some California wilderness." Maria's expression darkened. "It's not bears you should worry about. The rangers don't like people camping in this particular valley. There's been incidents." "What kind of incidents?" Welcome back to another night of chilling stories. Tonight, we're diving deep into the wilderness, where civilization ends and something else begins. These are true accounts from park rangers, contractors, and outdoor workers who encountered things that defy explanation. Things that lurk in the shadows of our deepest forests. Story 3, The Photographer's Folly. My name is David Chen, and I used to be a wildlife photographer. Used to be, because after what happened in the Sierra Nevada mountains, I can't bring myself to venture into the wilderness anymore. I was 31 when I got the assignment from National Geographic, a dream commission for any nature photographer. They wanted a comprehensive photo essay on wildlife in remote areas of the Sierra Nevada, with a focus on species behavior away from human contact. The pay was excellent, and the creative freedom was unprecedented. I would have 3 months to explore the backcountry, documenting whatever I found. It was the opportunity of a lifetime. I should have known it was too good to be true. My base camp was established in a meadow near a pristine alpine lake, miles from the nearest trail. A local guide named Maria helped me pack in my supplies, camera equipment, camping gear, enough food for several weeks at a time. "You sure about staying out here alone?" Maria asked as she prepared to head back. "This area has a reputation." I laughed. "I've worked in grizzly country, been charged by elephants in Africa. I think I can handle some California wilderness." Maria's expression darkened. "It's not bears you should worry about. The rangers don't like people camping in this particular valley. There's been incidents." "What kind of incidents?" She hesitated, then shrugged. "Just be careful. Keep your camp clean, make noise when you're hiking, and trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, it probably is." With that cryptic advice, she left me alone in the vast wilderness. The first week was spectacular. I captured images of deer grazing at dawn, eagles hunting over the lake, a family of bears fishing in a nearby stream. My portfolio was growing beautifully, and I felt validated in my decision to take the assignment. But on the 8th day, things started to feel off. I woke before dawn to catch the morning light and found tracks around my tent, massive footprints that didn't match any animal I knew. They were roughly humanoid in shape but huge, with what looked like claw marks at the toes. I photographed them, measuring them against my boot for scale. Whatever had made them had been standing right outside my tent while I slept. The thought made my skin crawl. Over the next few days, I found more evidence of something unusual in the area. Trees with claw marks too high for any bear, strange structures made of broken branches arranged in deliberate patterns, and rocks stacked in cairns where no trail existed. As a photographer, my instinct was to document everything. But something deeper, more primal, warned me that I was treading into dangerous territory. The warning came on day 12. I was hiking back to camp at dusk, my camera bag heavy with equipment and SD cards full of images. The light was fading fast, and I hurried, not wanting to navigate the rocky terrain in total darkness. That's when I heard the whistle. It was a clear, loud sound, almost human in its cadence, coming from somewhere up the slope. I stopped, listening. The whistle came again, from a different direction this time. Then another, behind me. I was being triangulated. My heart began to pound as I realized what was happening. Something was tracking me, coordinating with others, herding me toward, what? I didn't want to find out. I abandoned the trail, scrambling upslope through the brush, trying to break whatever pattern they were creating. The whistles followed, always staying just out of sight, always directing me. Finally, I saw my camp below. I half ran, half slid down the slope, burst into my tent, and zipped it shut with shaking hands. Outside, the whistles continued for several more minutes, then stopped. The silence that followed was deafening. That night, I reviewed the footage from my trail cameras, motion-activated cameras I'd set up around the area to capture wildlife behavior. What I saw made my blood run cold. The first few days showed exactly what I'd expected: deer, raccoons, birds, the occasional fox. But starting on day 6, something else appeared. It was only visible in fragments, a massive shape moving past the camera too quickly for the shutter speed, a shadow that stood upright and was impossibly tall, glowing eyes reflecting the camera's flash. In one clip, the creature approached the camera directly. The video was grainy, the timestamp showing 3:47 a.m., but I could make out details that defied explanation. It stood at least 8 feet tall, covered in dark hair, with arms that hung too long and a face that was neither fully ape nor fully human. But it was the way it examined the camera that truly chilled me. It didn't react with animal curiosity or fear. It studied the device with unmistakable intelligence, understanding exactly what it was and what it did. Then, looking directly into the lens, it reached out and carefully turned the camera to face a tree. The message was clear: I know you're watching. Stop. I should have packed up right then. Should have hiked out and never looked back. But I was a photographer, and I just captured evidence of something that shouldn't exist. The opportunity was too enormous to ignore. I spent the next several days trying to get clear footage of the creature. I set up more cameras, used longer lenses, positioned myself in hides where I could observe without being seen. The creature avoided every attempt. It was smarter than I'd anticipated, aware of my tactics, always staying just out of clear sight. I'd catch glimpses, a silhouette moving through the trees, eyes reflecting my flashlight, massive shapes that vanished when I tried to focus my camera. The frustration was maddening. I was so close to a discovery that would change everything, that would validate my entire career, but I couldn't get the proof I needed. My obsession led me to make a critical error. Following fresh tracks, I ventured into an area I'd previously avoided, a narrow canyon with steep walls and dense vegetation. Maria's warnings echoed in my mind, but I ignored them. The tracks were so fresh, so clear. Whatever had made them had to be nearby. I found it in a small clearing near a stream. The creature was massive, even larger than I'd estimated from the videos. It was crouched by the water, drinking, its back to me. For the first time, I had a clear, unobstructed view. My hands shook as I raised my camera, adjusting the settings for the low light under the canopy. This was it. This was the shot that would prove everything. I pressed the shutter. The camera's autofocus made a soft beep. The creature's head whipped around, its yellow eyes locking onto mine. For a frozen moment, we stared at each other. I saw intelligence in those eyes, but I also saw something else, anger. It rose to its full height, easily 9 feet tall, and let out a roar that shook the very air. The sound was unlike anything in nature, a combination of rage and challenge that spoke of an ancient, primal power. Then it charged. I ran. Dropped my camera, dropped everything, and ran with every ounce of strength I had. Behind me, I could hear it crashing through the undergrowth, its roars echoing off the canyon walls. The terrain was treacherous, all loose rocks and roots waiting to trip me. I leapt over fallen logs, splashed through the stream, scrambled up slopes using my hands as much as my feet. The creature was faster. It was gaining. I could hear its breathing, feel the vibration of its footfalls. Any second now, I'd feel its claws on my back, feel those jaws close around my neck. Ahead, I saw an opening in the canyon wall, a narrow gap between two massive boulders. I dove through it, feeling stone scrape my shoulders as I squeezed into the tight space. The creature slammed into the gap behind me, reaching through with one massive arm, claws swiping the air inches from my face. But the gap was too narrow for its bulk. It couldn't follow. I scrambled deeper into the crevice, which opened into a small cave. I pressed myself against the back wall, gasping for breath, my heart hammering so hard I thought it might burst. The creature's roars filled the cave, impossibly loud in the confined space. It pounded on the boulders, and I heard stone cracking under the impacts. If it could widen the gap, I was dead. But after several minutes, the attacks stopped. The roaring faded. When I finally dared to look, the creature was gone. I stayed in that cave until dawn, every muscle tensed, expecting at any moment for the creature to find another way in. But it never came. At first light, I made my way back to camp, moving as quickly and quietly as possible. Everything was destroyed. My tent was shredded, my supplies scattered and crushed, my expensive camera equipment smashed beyond repair. But the creature had left me a way out. My satellite phone sat intact on a flat rock, placed there deliberately. The message was clear: call for help and leave. Now. I didn't need to be told twice. I called Maria, begging her to come extract me. She heard something in my voice because she didn't ask questions, just said she'd be there by afternoon. While I waited, I searched for any salvageable footage from my SD cards. Most were destroyed, but I found one that had been in my pocket during the chase. It contained the photos I'd taken before the creature charged. I reviewed them on my backup camera. The images were everything I'd hoped for: clear, detailed shots of a creature that science said didn't exist. Proof that would change everything. I stared at those photos for a long time, my finger hovering over the delete button. In the end, I deleted them. All of them. Maybe it was the memory of those intelligent eyes, the understanding that what I'd photographed wasn't just an animal but a thinking, feeling being with its own right to privacy and survival. Maybe it was fear, fear of what would happen if the world knew, fear of the circus that would descend on these mountains, fear of what the creature might do to protect its territory. Or maybe I was just broken, traumatized by my experience, no longer thinking clearly. Whatever the reason, I deleted every image and threw the SD card into the lake. When Maria arrived, she took one look at my destroyed camp and my face and knew better than to ask for details. "Ready to go," was all she said. I nodded. We hiked out in silence. I never looked back. Story 4, The Search and Rescue. My name is Robert Sullivan, and I spent 12 years with Wilderness Search and Rescue in Colorado. I've pulled injured hikers off mountains, tracked lost children through blizzards, and recovered the bodies of those who made fatal mistakes in the backcountry. But nothing in my training prepared me for what we found during a search in the Maroon Bells Wilderness in the summer of 2019. The call came in on a Tuesday evening. A solo hiker, 34-year-old Michael Torres, had failed to check in at the end of his planned route. His wife had reported him missing when he didn't return home or respond to messages. Last known position was the Crater Lake area, dispatch told us. He was planning a 4-day loop, should have been out yesterday morning. 7 of us formed the initial search team. We assembled at the trailhead at dawn, dividing into pairs to cover the most likely routes Torres might have taken. My partner was Sarah Kim, a veterinarian who volunteered with search and rescue. She had more wilderness experience than most of the full-timers and an uncanny ability to read terrain and predict where lost hikers might end up. "Something feels off about this one," Sarah said as we started up the trail. "How so?" "Torres is experienced. His wife said he's done this loop half a dozen times. For him to miss a check-in." She shook her head. "Usually when experienced hikers go missing, it's because something went seriously wrong." She was right, though I didn't want to admit it. Twisted ankle, maybe, or a fall. But Torres was fit and prepared. It would take something significant to prevent him from making it out on schedule. We reached the Crater Lake area by mid-morning. It was beautiful country, alpine meadows, crystal clear streams, dramatic peaks surrounding a pristine lake. The kind of place that made you understand why people fell in love with wilderness. "Let's split up," I suggested. "You take the north shore, I'll take the south. If we don't find anything in 2 hours, we regroup and expand the search." Sarah agreed, and we separated. I found Torres's camp 45 minutes later, and immediately knew something was very wrong. The tent was shredded, not collapsed or blown down by wind but deliberately torn to pieces. His gear was scattered across a wide area, sleeping bag torn open, food bag ripped apart, cooking equipment bent and broken. Blood stained the ground in several places. "Sarah, this is Rob," I said into my radio. "I found the camp. South Shore, about quarter-mile from the trail junction. You need to see this." She arrived 10 minutes later. We stood together, surveying the scene in silence. We'd both seen animal attacks before, bears, mountain lions, but this was different. "The pattern's wrong," Sarah said finally, voicing what we were both thinking. "A bear would destroy the camp looking for food, but this looks systematic. Like something was searching for someone." I nodded, noticing other details that didn't fit. "And the tracks. Look at these." We both crouched to examine the prints preserved in the soft earth near the tent. They were massive, easily twice the size of a human footprint, with an unusual shape, almost human in basic structure but elongated, with deep claw marks at the toe end. "What kind of animal makes tracks like this?" Sarah asked. I had no answer. In 12 years of search and rescue, I'd never seen anything like them. "We need to call this in," I said, pulling out my satellite phone. "Get more people up here, maybe wildlife specialists. This is beyond our expertise." But Sarah wasn't listening. She was staring at something beyond the campsite, her face pale. "Rob," she said quietly. "What's that?" I followed her gaze and felt my stomach drop. About 50 yards away, partially hidden by undergrowth, was a structure of some kind. It looked like a shelter built from broken branches and logs, but the construction was too deliberate, too organized to be natural. We approached cautiously, every instinct screaming warnings. The structure was roughly 6 feet tall and 8 feet across, built against a large boulder. Branches had been woven together with incredible precision, creating what looked like a crude lean-to. But it was what lay inside the structure that made us both stop dead in our tracks. Human belongings, backpacks, water bottles, hiking poles, were arranged in a pile. Some looked new, others were old and faded, clearly weathered by seasons of exposure. With a growing sense of horror, I recognized a distinctive yellow backpack near the top of the pile. I'd seen it before, 3 years earlier, when we'd searched for a missing hiker named Jennifer Marcus. We'd never found her. "Oh God," Sarah breathed. "How many people's gear is this?" I counted at least a dozen distinct items. 12 people who'd gone into these mountains and never come out. "We need to leave," I said, my voice shaking. "Right now. We need to get back to the trailhead and..." A sound stopped me mid-sentence. It started as a low rumble, like distant thunder, then rose in pitch and volume until it became a howl unlike anything in nature. It echoed off the surrounding peaks, seeming to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. And it was getting closer. "Move!" I shouted, grabbing Sarah's arm. We ran. All training, all protocol went out the window as we sprinted back toward the trail. Behind us, we could hear something large crashing through the forest, keeping pace with us, sometimes ahead, sometimes to the sides. It was hurting us, I realized with horror. Just like a predator with prey. We burst onto the main trail and kept running. Sarah was faster, pulling ahead, while I struggled to keep up. My lungs burned, my legs felt like they were made of lead, but fear drove me onward. "The junction," Sarah shouted back. "If we can make it to the junction, there's a ranger station another mile down." A mile. It might as well have been 100. We could see the junction ahead when something stepped onto the trail in front of Sarah. She skidded to a stop so quickly she almost fell, and I nearly crashed into her. The creature stood in the middle of the trail, blocking our path. It was massive, easily 8 feet tall, covered in dark, matted fur. Its arms were grotesquely long, ending in hands tipped with curved claws. The face was a nightmarish blend of ape and something else, something that registered as wrong on every level. But it was the eyes that held us frozen. They glowed with an eerie yellow light, and they were intelligent. This wasn't an animal acting on instinct. This thing was thinking, calculating, deciding what to do with us. For an eternity, we stood there in a three-way standoff. The creature watching us unable to move or look away. Then, slowly, it raised one arm and pointed back the way we'd come. The gesture was unmistakable, "Go back." "Rob," Sarah whispered, her voice trembling. "What do we do?" "Back up," I said quietly. "Slowly. Don't turn around, don't run. Just back up." We did as I said, moving one careful step at a time. The creature watched but didn't advance. As we moved, it lowered its arm and took a step backward itself, maintaining the distance between us. It was giving us a chance to leave. Why, I couldn't understand, but I wasn't about to question it. We backed up about 50 yards before the creature turned and melted into the forest, disappearing as silently as it had appeared. "Run," I said. We didn't stop running until we reached the ranger station. We burst through the door, startling the ranger on duty, both of us gasping for breath, trying to explain what we'd seen. The official search for Michael Torres expanded that afternoon. A team of 20 searchers combed the area where we'd found his camp. They located his body 2 days later, what was left of it, in a crevasse about a mile from the destroyed campsite. The official cause of death was listed as animal attack, species unknown. The destroyed campsite was attributed to a bear, despite the lack of evidence supporting that conclusion. When Sarah and I tried to explain what we'd actually seen, we were met with skepticism and barely concealed hostility from the senior search and rescue coordinators. "You were in a high-stress situation," they told us. "Altitude, fear, exhaustion, these things can cause hallucinations, misperceptions." "But the structure," I protested. "The collection of gear from other victims." That's real, that's physical evidence. We investigated that area thoroughly, the coordinator said flatly. There was no structure. You must have been confused about the location. But Sullivan, Kim, you're both experienced members of this team. I'd hate to see that change because you insist on spreading wild stories that could cause panic and hurt the park's reputation. Do I make myself clear? Sarah quit the next week. She moved to Denver, took a job at a veterinary clinic, and refused to discuss what had happened in the Maroon Bells. I stuck it out for another 6 months, but the passion was gone. Every search felt hollow, every official explanation felt like a lie. I knew what I'd seen, and I knew the authorities were covering it up. But why? That's what haunted me. I started researching on my own time, looking for similar incidents in other wilderness areas. What I found was disturbing: decades of unexplained disappearances, mysterious deaths attributed to animals or accidents, search and rescue personnel who quit suddenly or refused to discuss certain cases. And always, lurking at the edges of the official reports, the same pattern: massive tracks, destroyed campsites, evidence that didn't match known wildlife. Something lived in the wilderness areas of North America. Something large, intelligent, and territorial. And the authorities, whether park services, wildlife management, or higher levels of government, knew about it and actively worked to keep it secret. I quit search and rescue in early 2020. I told my colleagues I was burned out, needed a change. But the truth was, I couldn't stomach being part of the cover-up anymore. Before I left, I met privately with a few other search and rescue veterans, people I trusted. Over beers in a quiet bar, I carefully broached the subject of unusual incidents in the wilderness. To my surprise, almost all of them had stories. Strange tracks they'd seen, inexplicable evidence at search sites, encounters with something that shouldn't exist. And all of them had been told, in one way or another, to keep quiet about it. It's been going on for decades, an older volunteer named Frank told me. He'd been with search and rescue since the 1980s. Maybe longer. The policy is to contain information, minimize panic, protect tourism revenue. But people are dying, I said. Doesn't anyone care about that? Frank gave me a sad smile. Of course they care. But what's the alternative? Announce that there are unknown, potentially dangerous creatures living in our national parks and forests. Can you imagine the panic? The economic impact? People would stop visiting, local economies would collapse. And for what? We can't catch these things, can't kill them, can't even study them properly. So the decision was made, probably at the highest levels, to manage the situation quietly. How do they do that? By carefully controlling access to certain areas, by explaining away the evidence, and by making sure that people like us don't talk. It's not a perfect system, people still go missing, people still die. But it's been deemed preferable to the alternative. I left that conversation feeling sick. The wilderness I'd loved, that I'd dedicated years of my life to protecting and serving, was a lie. Not because nature isn't dangerous, it is, but because the full extent of that danger was being actively hidden from the public. In the months that followed, I struggled with what to do with this knowledge. Part of me wanted to go public, to expose the cover-up. But I had no proof beyond my own testimony, and I'd seen how easily such claims were dismissed as delusions or attention-seeking. More importantly, I wasn't sure going public was the right thing to do. Would it save lives? Or would it just cause panic and lead to vigilante hunting parties descending on the wilderness, possibly provoking the very creatures we feared? In the end, I chose a middle path. I started a blog, anonymously, sharing stories from search and rescue personnel willing to talk. I presented them as fiction, as campfire tales, but I made sure the details were accurate. My hope is that people will read these stories and be more cautious in the wilderness. That they'll stick to marked trails, hike in groups, respect boundaries. That they'll understand, on some instinctive level, that there are dangers out there beyond what the official warnings mention. Because the truth is this, something does live in the deep wilderness of North America. Multiple somethings, probably, in different regions. They've been there longer than our country, longer than our species' recorded history. Most of the time, they avoid us. But sometimes, when someone ventures too deep, stays too long, or simply has the bad luck to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, those people don't come home. Michael Torres was one of those people. So was Jennifer Marcus, and all the others whose gear I saw in that structure. And so could you be, if you're not careful. My research assistant, a graduate student named Marcus Webb, was enthusiastic but inexperienced. At 25, this was his first major field project. He saw it as an adventure, a chance to live in the wilderness and contribute to important research. I should have known better. I should have recognized the warning signs. But hubris is a powerful thing, and I believed my experience and education would protect us from any danger. We established our base camp in early June, in a valley so remote it didn't have an official name on any map. The nearest trail was 5 miles away, the nearest road was 15. A bush pilot named Tom agreed to fly in supplies every 2 weeks, but otherwise, we were completely isolated. "You sure about this location?" Tom asked as he unloaded the last of our equipment. "I've been flying these mountains for 30 years. This valley, well, let's just say it has a reputation among the local pilots." "What kind of reputation?" Marcus asked, his excitement tinged with nervousness. Tom looked uncomfortable. "Native folk say it's sacred ground, off-limits to humans. The old trappers used to avoid it too. Said there were things in these woods that didn't appreciate visitors." I smiled politely. "Well, we're scientists. We don't put much stock in superstition." "Superstition," Tom repeated, shaking his head. "Right. Well, good luck to you both. I'll see you in 2 weeks." As his plane disappeared over the ridge, I felt Marcus's tension beside me. "Do you think there's any truth to those stories?" he asked. "So please, when you visit the wilderness, respect it. Follow the rules, stay on marked trails, hike with others. Not just because of bears or weather or getting lost, those dangers are real too. But because sometimes, in the deepest, most remote places, something else watches from the shadows. Something ancient, something powerful, something that wants to be left alone. And if you're very lucky, it will let you leave." Story 5, The Final Account. My name is Dr. Catherine Reeves, and I'm a biological anthropologist. Or I was, before my research in the Pacific Northwest ended my academic career and nearly cost me my life. This is my final account of what happened in the Cascade Mountains in 2021. I'm sharing it not for fame or credibility, I have neither anymore, but because people deserve to know the truth, even if they choose not to believe it. The project began innocuously enough. I'd secured a grant to study wildlife patterns in remote areas of the North Cascades, particularly focusing on how large predators utilize territory. It was a straightforward ecological study, the kind I'd done successfully in other regions. "No," I said firmly. "Wilderness areas often have local legends attached to them. It's a psychological phenomenon, humans making up stories to explain natural events they don't understand. Nothing more. I believed that then. I don't anymore." The first week went exactly as planned. We set up monitoring equipment, trail cameras, audio recorders, hair snares for collecting samples, throughout the valley. We documented tracks, cataloged scat, and made detailed observations of the local ecology. It was pristine wilderness, virtually untouched by human presence. We documented wolves, bears, elk, and mountain goats. The data was exactly what I'd hoped for, and I was already mentally drafting the papers I would publish. But on day 8, Marcus came back from checking the northern camera line looking shaken. "Dr. Reeves," he said, "you need to see this." He showed me the images on his laptop. The first few were standard: deer, a bear, nothing unusual. But then came a sequence that made me frown. The trail camera had captured something massive moving past at night. The image was blurred, the creature had moved too quickly for the camera's shutter speed, but I could make out certain details. It was large, bipedal, covered in dark hair. Equipment malfunction, I said immediately. The image is corrupted, probably a double exposure or processing error. But Marcus pulled up the next image. And the next. All showed the same thing, a large, bipedal figure, always slightly out of focus, always caught mid-motion. Dr. Reeves, these cameras are digital. They don't have the technical issues film cameras did. And look at this, you can see the same figure in images from 3 different cameras, spaced over 2 miles. Whatever this is, it's real. I studied the images more carefully, my scientific mind trying to find a rational explanation. Bear standing on hind legs? No, wrong body proportions. Person in a costume? Ridiculous, we were 15 miles from the nearest road. We'll review all the camera data, I decided. Document everything, cross-reference with audio recordings. If there's an unknown animal in this area, we'll identify it properly. Marcus nodded, but I could see the excitement in his eyes. He thought we'd discovered something groundbreaking. I thought we'd found an interesting anomaly that would eventually have a mundane explanation. We were both wrong. It happened on day 12. We were conducting a survey in the northern part of the valley, a heavily forested area with steep ridges and numerous small caves. The plan was to map potential den sites and collect any scat or hair samples we found. Around mid-afternoon, we noticed the silence. Anyone who's spent time in wilderness knows that forests are rarely truly quiet. There's always something, birds calling, insects buzzing, small animals rustling in undergrowth. But in that moment, everything had stopped. Complete, absolute silence. This is what happened in the prey video we watched, Marcus whispered. Remember? When predators are nearby, prey species go silent. He was right. But what predator could silence an entire forest? We started backing toward the main trail, moving slowly, trying not to make noise. That's when we heard it, a sound that sent chills down my spine. It was a vocalization, but unlike anything I'd heard in 20 years of wildlife research. It started as a low rumble, almost infrasonic, then rose to a high-pitched howl, then descended into a series of grunting barks. And it was answered by another vocalization, from a different direction. They were communicating. Dr. Reeves, Marcus said, his voice tight with fear, what is that? I don't know, I admitted. But I think we should. Something massive stepped out from behind a cedar tree about 50 yards away. It was enormous, I estimated at least 8 feet tall and proportionally built. Its body was covered in dark brown hair, longer on the head and shoulders, shorter on the chest and limbs. The arms were incredibly long, reaching past the knees. The face was a disturbing blend of ape and human features, pronounced brow ridge, flat nose, but with eyes that were positioned frontally, like a human's. Those eyes. God, those eyes. They were dark amber in color, and they looked at us with unmistakable intelligence. This wasn't an animal. This was something else. Marcus made a sound, a whimper of fear, and the creature's head snapped toward him. For a long moment, it studied us, its expression unreadable. Then it vocalized again, a series of grunts and whistles that sounded almost like language. And from multiple directions, we heard answering calls. There wasn't just one. There were several, surrounding us. Back up, I whispered. Slowly. Don't run, don't make sudden movements. We began moving backward, step by careful step. The creature watched but didn't advance. Another appeared to our left, slightly smaller, possibly female. Then a third, to our right. They were hurting us, I realized. Driving us in a specific direction, away from their territory and back toward ours. When we reached the edge of a small clearing, the vocalizations stopped. The creatures melted back into the forest, disappearing so completely it was as if they'd never been there. We stood in that clearing for several minutes, shaking, unable to process what we'd just experienced. "Tell me you saw that," Marcus finally said. "Tell me that was real." "I saw it," I confirmed. "And I have no idea what it was." We spent the next 2 days in camp, reviewing all our data, trying to document and analyze what we'd seen. The trail cameras had captured dozens of additional images, blurry, frustrating, but consistent. The audio recordings had captured more vocalizations, complex patterns that suggested communication rather than simple animal calls. But we had no clear video, no hair samples, no physical evidence that would hold up to scientific scrutiny. "We need to publish this," Marcus insisted. "This is the discovery of the century. An unknown large primate in North America, possibly multiple individuals comprising a breeding population. With what evidence?" I challenged. "Blurry photos? Ambiguous audio? Our testimony? We'd be laughed out of the scientific community." "But you saw it." "We both did." "Yes, and that's precisely the problem. Personal testimony is the weakest form of evidence. We need samples, clear documentation, repeatable observations. Without that, we have nothing." Marcus looked at me with something like betrayal. "So we just forget about it? Pretend we didn't see what we saw?" "No," I said slowly, a plan forming. "We conduct proper research. We set up better cameras, we collect environmental DNA samples from the areas where they've been. We do this right, by the book, so that when we publish, the evidence is irrefutable." It was a reasonable plan. A scientific plan. But it required us to stay in that valley, in close proximity to creatures we didn't understand, creatures that had already demonstrated they were aware of us and capable of coordinating their actions. Marcus agreed, though I could see the doubt in his eyes. We both knew we were taking a risk. We had no idea how big a risk until 2 days later, when Tom was supposed to arrive with supplies. The appointed day came and went. No plane. We waited another day, thinking weather might have delayed him. Still no plane. Using our satellite phone, I called Tom's service. The woman who answered sounded confused. "Dr. Reeves? Tom said he wouldn't be servicing your location anymore. Said the landing zone was too dangerous, too many variables. He recommended you hike out to the nearest trail and arrange pickup from there." He said what? "That's impossible," he would have told us. "He tried, ma'am. Said he flew over your location 3 days ago and tried to radio you, but got no response." 3 days ago. The day after our encounter with the creatures. Did he say anything else? The woman hesitated. He mentioned, well, he said he saw something near your camp that didn't sit right with him. Something that looked like it was watching your location. "Ma'am, are you in some kind of trouble up there?" I hung up without answering. Marcus and I looked at each other, both thinking the same thing. We were trapped, miles from help, with limited supplies, being watched by creatures whose intentions we couldn't begin to guess. "We need to hike out," I said. "First thing tomorrow morning." Marcus nodded. "Should we pack up the equipment?" I thought about it. The cameras, the audio recorders, the samples we'd collected, all of it represented months of work and tens of thousands of dollars in grants. But our lives were worth more than equipment. Leave it, I decided. We take essential gear only: tent, food, water purification, first aid. We move fast and we don't stop until we reach that trailhead. That night, we barely slept. The creatures circled our camp, their vocalizations echoing through the valley. Sometimes they sounded far away, sometimes impossibly close. But they didn't approach directly, didn't threaten us overtly. They were just watching. Waiting. For what? I was terrified to find out. We left at first light, packs stripped to essentials, moving as quickly as the terrain allowed. The plan was simple: hike south to the main trail, then west to the trailhead where we could call for extraction. 12 miles. Should take us about 6 hours at a good pace. It took us 16 hours of hell. The creatures followed us. Not overtly, we rarely saw them, but we knew they were there. We'd hear vocalizations from the ridges above, see branches move in the forest beside us, find fresh tracks crossing our path. They were herding us again, but this time not back to our camp. They were ensuring we left their territory entirely, making sure we understood the message: you are not welcome here. Around mid-afternoon, we reached what should have been a simple creek crossing. The water was only ankle deep, the current gentle. But on the far bank, 3 of the creatures stood waiting. The largest, the same one we'd encountered before, I thought, stood in the center. The other 2 flanked it on either side. They made no aggressive moves, but their message was clear: this is our territory, and we decide if you pass. What do we do? Marcus whispered. Before I could answer, the largest creature made a gesture. It raised one arm and pointed to the left, to where the creek curved around a bend and disappeared into thicker forest. I think it's telling us to go around, I said, hardly believing the words coming out of my mouth. We did as indicated, detouring along the creek until we found another crossing point. When we reached the far bank, the creatures were gone. But I understood what had happened. They could have stopped us, could have prevented us from leaving. But they'd chosen to let us go, as long as we followed their rules, stayed on the path they allowed. The implications were staggering. These creatures weren't just animals operating on instinct. They had territory, they enforced boundaries, they communicated complex ideas. They were, in every way that mattered, intelligent beings. We reached the trailhead after dark, exhausted, traumatized, but alive. We spent the night in my truck, doors locked, jumping at every sound. In the morning, we drove straight to the nearest ranger station. We tried to explain what had happened, what we'd seen. The rangers listened politely, took notes, but I could see the skepticism in their eyes. "We'll send a team to check on your equipment," one ranger said. "But Dr. Reeves, you should know, that valley, we don't usually allow research projects there. The permit you got, that was unusual." "What do you mean?" "Means someone higher up approved something that normally wouldn't get approved. Can't say why, but if I were you, I'd be careful about how much of this you report officially." The warning was clear. We'd stumbled into something that someone, somewhere, wanted kept quiet. I tried. God knows I tried to publish our findings, to share what we discovered. But every avenue was blocked. The journal editors who received our paper rejected it without even sending it for peer review. Insufficient evidence, they said. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof. The university where I taught held a quiet meeting with me. They suggested, very gently, that pursuing this research might impact my tenure review. That it might be better to focus on more conventional projects. The grant agency that had funded the study sent an email terminating our agreement, citing failure to comply with research protocols. One by one, doors closed. My academic career, which I'd spent 20 years building, crumbled. Marcus fared even worse. His graduate program quietly suggested he might be happier pursuing his degree elsewhere. The implication was clear: continue talking about what you saw, and you'll never work in science again. He quit 6 months later. Last I heard, he was working in software development, trying to forget he'd ever been a biologist. As for me, I left academia entirely. The cost of fighting the system was too high. But I kept the data. The photos, the audio recordings, Marcus's notes, and mine. I keep them in a secure location, hoping that someday, someone will have the courage to look at the evidence objectively, without the career-ending consequences I faced. Because here's what I learned in that valley: we share this world with other intelligent beings. They've been here longer than us, they've survived by staying hidden, and they've developed a complex society in the wilderness areas we think we control. Most of the time, they want nothing to do with us. But when we intrude too far into their territory, when we become a threat, they respond, sometimes by driving us away, sometimes by eliminating the threat permanently. The missing hikers, the unsolved disappearances in national parks and wilderness areas, I believe many of those people encountered these beings. Some, like us, were allowed to leave. Others weren't so fortunate. The authorities know. The park services, the forest services, possibly agencies higher up in government, they know these creatures exist, and they've made a deliberate decision to keep it secret. Maybe they're right. Maybe the panic and chaos that would follow a revelation would be worse than the secret itself. Maybe trying to study or control these beings would provoke them to become more aggressive. Or maybe we're just cowards, unwilling to confront the uncomfortable truth that we're not the only intelligent species on this planet, and we're certainly not the most adapted to survival in wilderness. I don't know the answer. All I know is what I saw, what I experienced, and the cost of trying to share that truth. So I'm sharing it now, in this format, where it will be dismissed as fiction or conspiracy theory. I have no more to lose. My career is gone, my credibility destroyed. But if you're reading this, if you're listening, please understand, the wilderness is not empty. It's not just trees and animals. There are other minds out there, others. Respect them. Give them space. Don't venture too deep, don't stay too long, and if you see something that shouldn't exist, something that watches you with intelligence in its eyes, walk away. Don't document it, don't pursue it, don't try to prove it exists. Just walk away, and be grateful you were given that chance. Because not everyone is. And so we come to the end of tonight's stories. Tales from the deep woods, from the places where civilization ends and something else begins. Stories that official reports will never tell you, that most people refuse to believe. But ask yourself this: why are there so many similar accounts? Why do people across decades, across different regions, describe the same things: massive bipedal creatures, glowing eyes, intelligence that shouldn't exist in the animal kingdom? Why do experienced outdoorsmen, people who've spent their lives in wilderness, sometimes refuse to discuss what they've seen? Why do park rangers and search and rescue personnel share knowing looks when certain areas are mentioned? Perhaps it's all coincidence. Perhaps it's mass delusion, folklore given credence by our pattern-seeking brains. Or perhaps there's truth hidden in these stories. Truth that we're not ready to confront, truth that would change how we see our place in the natural world. I can't tell you what to believe. I can only share these accounts and let you decide for yourself. But I will say this: if you venture into the wilderness, be respectful. Be cautious. Remember that you're a guest in a world much older and stranger than our cities and highways would suggest. And if you see something in the shadows, something that watches you with eyes that glow in the darkness, don't dismiss it. Don't pursue it. Just remember, you've been warned. Thank you for listening tonight. If you enjoyed these stories, please subscribe and share with others who appreciate true mysteries. Leave a comment with your own experiences. I read them all, and they help inform future episodes. Until next time, stay safe out there in the wild places. And remember, not all monsters are myths. Some are just very, very good at hiding. Sweet dreams.